Brexit. Do you remember those days? The buzzword then was localism, decisions made closer to home. 9 years on and more than 100 applications have been made across the North West for neighbourhood plans. They're attempts by communities to influence town planning. But are they just a NIMBY's charter? Kevin Fitzpatrick reports.
We're hoping that people are going to go out and vote to support the plan. You're going to go and vote later on. Neighbourhood Plan referendum today.
Yes, we've voted.
You've voted? Yep. Excellent. Yep.
In this historic village in Wigan, the stocks are a reminder of a time when decisions were made closer to home. They're no longer locking up local criminals in the square, but a referendum this week means residents have more influence over their area.
In Standish, we felt very much things were being done to us and we got no control and no say in what was happening, and that was because of the amount of development. We've got over 1,800 houses have received planning permission to be built, and that's going to increase the village by a quarter.
While a large part of this plan is about housing, the group behind it also say they want to make the village more attractive and vibrant. To do that, they say there should be no more takeaways, so the numbers here will be limited to the ones already open.
If you can go and vote today.
Nearly 95% of voters this week backed a local plan for the next 10 years, with 30 policies from planning to parking to hopes for new leisure facilities.
If people are taking genuine interest, and we've got to stop things that's happening now, all this extra building will on down here.
I hope it can change things. That's the whole point of it.
When I read through the plan, it's very, very detailed. I don't know who's done it, but I'm amazed by the amount of detail they've got into it. So yeah, I think it is good that local people are getting involved.
This village isn't alone in seeking a local plan, and bids are predominantly coming from more affluent areas. In Cheshire East, there have been 51 applications, while in Cheshire West it's 36. But in many more deprived areas of the North West, no plans have been forthcoming.
The kind of areas around the country where this is happening, they have a more active, articulate population, you could say, where they may have, planning consultants and planning lawyers and housing developers already living in those areas where they already have knowledge of how to do this.
For communities concerned about the long-term protection of greenbelt land, these local plans could prove attractive, but they can only work within limits set by the higher authorities.
They've had to ensure that the plan does not run contrary to the strategic objectives that have already been set by the local authority and central government. So I think, although there is some element for NIMBYism in there, it's limited by the constraints placed upon them.
Those behind this plan in Standish don't dispute the idea they're trying to stop more development, but insist they have the future of their village at heart.
The inherent problem with this appears to be it's in areas where communities are comfortable that they're already engaged in local politics and they need the funding in order to get the neighbourhood plan together. That's where it's happening rather than the places that need it, James.
I think it depends where you're at. I mean, in my area where it's the Lake District, South Lakes, it's parished. Local plans are on a much smaller scale than the one you've seen there on the television clip. But they do work in terms of partnership working between residents on the ground and the local planning authority. They're just part of the process. They draw up a bit of a wish list, but it does help people inform those planners that are making the decisions. But been very effective in the Lake District National Park in terms of delivering affordable homes.
But it's more effective in affluent areas. The Standish Neighbourhood Plan cost £15,000 that came from families' pockets. Not everywhere can afford to have that sway.
Well, I think plans can be different, really. They can be a couple of pages long and very simple, and I've seen that in some of my parish areas. And in Coniston, for instance, a lot of work went into drawing up a parish plan, and it has helped deliver affordable homes.
But the bottom line is people who can afford, if you like, to even buy that influence, that's what's happening, whereas some families, some communities can't afford to put the plan together in the first place, and they're going to be disadvantaged.
I'm not sure that's true. I haven't seen that in my area because really parish councils, local communities have got together, and it hasn't been a sophisticated, document with consultants being brought in. It's been community-led, partnership working, various interested parties getting together and just drawing up a list that really works for their area.
And if you are more engaged, if you do take the time and effort to contact your council, Louise, then maybe you should be rewarded with getting a bit more of what you want.
I do think it's important that local views views are considered and the way to do that's found. I think the problem in urban areas is that some of the local planning structures aren't very well resourced and haven't made a very big impact. It may well be very different in more rural areas where I think a different system operates, but local concerns should be expressed, constructive views as well as people being opposed to things, but particularly when you're looking at housing, there also has to be thoughts about a wider interest as well, the need for housing.
OK, so neighbourhood planning in Liverpool, you're not seeing it be
I don't think it's
particularly
made
successful
any
at the moment?
dramatic impact
Okay.
at the moment.
OK, thank you.